CBDT, through a notification on June 24th, and the Ministry of Finance through a press release, have provided the much needed clarity with regard to income tax reforms proposed in the light of COVID-19. The Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development had outlined a range of emergency tax measures that government could adopt to curb an economic fallout. This was on March 16. This included extended deadlines, suspending the recovery of taxes, enhancement of services and communication, and quicker refunds to taxpayers. Most of the measures were adopted by the ministry through an ordinance. Tax reliefs were in three major areas. 1. Extension of due dates. 2. Reduction in withholding rates. And 3. Disbursement of tax refunds. And in this ordinance, along with all this, more clarity has been there. It has been found in the ordinance and also in the bill. Vivad Se Vishwas scheme, the last date for making payment under the Direct Tax Vivad Se Vishwas Act 2020 was initially extended to June 30th, 2020. It is now further extended to December 31st, 2020, about which yesterday the Finance Minister also stated in the House. Reduction in rates in order to provide more funds to the taxpayer. The rates of tax deducted at source, TDS as it is called, and tax collected at source, TCS, have been proposed to be reduced by 25%. However, the reduced TDS rate is not applicable to payment of salaries and payment to non-residents. This reduced rate shall remain in force in 2020-2021. It is estimated that this measure will release a liquidity of around 50,000 crores. For the ease of taxpayers and better clarity, the CBDT has provided a table containing revised rates of TDS and TCS. Sir, I remember in the first decade of this century, when attempt was made to simplify the Income Tax Act, because it is so cumbersome and it is so contradictory at times that people who pay income tax always feel that they should not have entered into this tax regime. So a direct tax code was contemplated and lot of effort also was made. But ultimately, when you have a tax lawyer leading the finance ministry, that time you have more confusion and you have more litigation, and that was the result of that direct tax code, which was never implemented by the previous government nor by this government. But some sections, some portions of that direct tax code are being implemented or were being implemented during the UPA regime and also during this regime. Sir, these policy initiatives are commendable. In essence, these reforms are aimed at either payments which are lagging or reduced to the government exchequer and center trying to refund taxpayers' money to improve liquidity in the economy. The delay in statutory compliances has also given breathing space to taxpayers. I would like to draw the attention of the Minister regarding advance tax. Standing Committee on Finance has given a report very recently on it, wherein it is stated that Income Tax Department may be pushing taxpayers to pay excess advance taxes to meet revenue targets. And this is a very serious allegation which the Standing Committee of Finance has made. The committee found that interest component of the refunds distributed in the last financial year were high over rupees 20,000 crores each. So I would just like to mention here, in April-January period for the financial year 1920, the IT department had refunded 1.71 lakh crore, which included interest outgo of 22,856 crores. Similarly, in the previous financial year, 1,61,000 or 1.61 lakh crore was returned to taxpayers as a refund, consisting of 20,566 crore as interest payment. This demonstrates that large amount of money is being collected, or rather, as the standing committee has mentioned, are being forced to. But I would also add that some are also parking this money as advance tax and getting interest out of it, and this has been also raised earlier by the standing committee in the first decade of this century, that why this is happening and to tide over certain situations. CBDT issues refunds, as I had mentioned, and this has also happened, over 1,06,470 crores to more than 30.92 lakh taxpayers between 1st April 2020 to 15th September 2020. I remember, and that's what I mentioned, but the most often that has been discussed today in this House while we are discussing on this bill is relating to PM CARE. Sir, this is my last point. And the acronym, the Prime Minister's Citizen Assistance and Relief in Emergency Situation, is set up with the objective of being a dedicated national fund to deal with any kind of emergency or distress situation. And I believe that this fund is not only created only to tackle COVID-19 situation. This fund will also be there to tackle different calamities that this country always faces. Such type of calamity relief fund formation is nothing new. In our country, we have such fund, and so also in foreign shores. And I doubt in any other country such a clamor has been made to target a philanthropic trust the manner in which it is being done in our country. The scope of discussion in this bill, of course, rests on Clause 4, Subclause 1, inserting PM CARES Fund. It has to be given effect from 1st April 2020.
Yes.
Why retrospective effect is being given, that needs to be explained by this government. But I think the answer is very clear. Because the calamity is there, we are facing this COVID-19 situation, which never this country had faced earlier. It was perhaps 100 years ago in 1918 to 1919 or 1920, we had faced Spanish flu. And accordingly, during last 100 years, this situation has never happened in our country, nor ever in any part of the world. And this is a very serious case which we have to tackle and we need to address. And therefore, don't we understand it? Can't we use our own common sense? Why should we one object? All states are being benefited by this fund, and CSR fund is being utilized. And in an emergency situation like this, CSR fund needs to be utilized for this. And I fully support this bill. Thank you.